Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be here. As you know, this is one of my favorite times of the year.
I know. Well, Maria and I, we get deep in the weeds with the team as it exists in Boston in the day-to-day, especially all the regulars. And I know for myself, I do not pay nearly enough attention to these young up-and-comers, not just because there's always so much going on in Boston, but a lot of the young people in the last couple of seasons really, not that they haven't been good, but we haven't had so many draft picks. And I feel like there was a lot of buzz this summer around development camp because we've clearly had a lack of young talent waiting in the wings, and you got a front row seat.
I sure did. And boy, it was a fun week. So I can't wait to share everything about it. Some of the guys that really impressed me, some of the fun things we saw.
This of all years with what the Bruins are doing right now, which is basically a rebuild. And now is the time that we do need to focus more on that because clearly the Bruins are moving in an alternative direction. I'm not quite sure that they have made a determination yet what that direction is, but that's a story for a different podcast. But at some point in time, it is necessary to focus on your young players because they are going to be a part of the future of the team. So, we need to know what that is going to potentially look like and who is going to be at the forefront of that new player development.
Yeah, exactly. I think hopefully at the end of our conversation today, maybe we will get a sense of how long is it going to potentially take to see some of this draft effort actually come to fruition? Because with the exception of maybe the first and second overall pick, and obviously depending on the team, most NHL teams don't actually get to use their first round pick right away. It's not a super common thing. Why don't we start out first, Mary Beth? Give us the rundown. What is development camp? Who's invited? All I know is it can be not all the draft picks, but certainly some of the team's top draft picks get invited immediately. There are other random guys. Give us the rundown.
Sure. Development camp is essentially a summer program held by all of the NHL teams. It's their newly drafted and their signed prospects, but they also have some space and they invite some other players. So there's some that are there just by invitation, and it's usually somebody that the team wants to have an eye on. Most of the guys that we had invited had a connection from a college or something, so you could see, oh, okay, they were at school with such and such. That's probably how they got noticed by our scouting staff. So at development camp, the team gets to know the players, but the players also get to know the team, the culture, the training methods, and the coaching staff. The focus is on their skills, nutrition, training, sports psychology, and essentially the staff helps them to map out what their development plan is. So it's basically hockey school, but on steroids.
So can somebody be at, let's say, a Bruins camp, dev camp this year and next year at another team's camp?
The people who are invited, they're usually draft picks and signed prospects. So in that case, when we look at James Higgins,
right?
Well, we drafted him. He's not going to show up at the Avalanche next year because we've signed him. But we have a couple of other invites who, if we are not inviting them, they could be invited by another team for sure. Because it's the draft picks, the prospects, but it's also undrafted free agents. So they can do what they want. Now, I don't know exactly how the invitation process works behind the scenes.
Sure.
But I am guessing that these are people who have been in conversation with the Bruins, the scouts, or somebody from the staff. They've been having a little bit of back and forth. And that's how they're, okay, why don't you come to camp and show us what you have? Now, it could be after a camp. The staff is like, we don't feel like you're fit. Or the prospect themselves could be like, you know what? I've gotten to know you and you're not feeling like a great fit for me. So I think that they could show up at somebody else's camp. More often, they're showing up at our camp for a year or two, a couple years. They can start coming to camp usually around age 18, and then it's usually 20 to 21-year-olds. Although there are certainly a few guys who are older, but not by much because they might still be playing college. They might still be, they haven't entered the AHL. They haven't signed their entry level sometimes. So some of these players we're still seeing at development camp. One of the things that's interesting is it is a development camp. When we're seeing these players, they're learning stuff. They're being coached. One of the things you're watching is, hey, I saw this player do this. I saw a coach talk to them. Am I seeing a change? So that's part of what you're looking for over the week from these guys. Am I seeing a difference from day one
to
4?
Yeah.
Seeing exact same mistakes for 4 days. Knowing some of the stuff we're watching, some of the drills they're doing, some of the scrimmages, they might be working on something specific. That a coach said, hey, I really want you to be more on your outside edge, or I really want you to be leaning in this way, or I really want you to head forward this way. So they might be working on a specific skill. That means you're not actually seeing them playing as they would, say, in a game. So that's one of the things to keep in mind, that this is hockey school.
That's really fascinating because it's all kind of coming together for me now in my head about what this really is. And it's quite literally, it's camp, right? Just like what you would imagine, like you go to camp in the summertime, right? And for whatever reason, I've always considered the use of the word camp in the NHL to mean it's not really camp, it's just warming up, right? But I'm starting to recognize some of the things that the coaching staff is having the players do. If anybody's listening has a kid in mites or younger, I mean, that's cross ice. That's exactly how you do scrimmaging. And so it's really fascinating to me now to kind of look at this and think, wow, it's not just warm-up / tryouts, basically, right? Because I think that's also what I was thinking was like, oh, this is a tryouts kind of thing. No, it's quite literally, let's see where you're at. Let's teach you some things. And then can we teach you some strategies? Are you trying to pick it up? And then I would imagine those players go off, the NCAA, they go to not mites, juniors, and they watch them and see, like, are you applying the things that we've suggested and kind of going from there?
One of the things I think that's helpful for people to know is, how do they get here?
Mm-hmm.
What gets them to the point of being ready to be invited to a development camp? And there's a couple different paths they can take. In Canada, you start out with minor hockey, so that the mites, et cetera, whatever they're calling it, but it's starting with U7 programs. Then they move on to junior hockey. And there's actually a couple of different ways you can do that. So there's the CHL, the Canadian Hockey League, and that has what people hear of as the major juniors.
Okay.
So if you're hearing the major juniors, it is the Western Hockey League, the WHL, which is basically Western Canada, the OHL, which is the Ontario Hockey League, and that's Middle Canada and the US. Then there is the QMJHL. That is
the big one.
Junior Hockey League, which is the Atlantic Canada region and the Eastern US, basically Eastern Canada and the US. So that is the CHL. Now that is actually semi-professional. So they draft into that. NCAA, obviously another path for the Canadians, but there also are some other junior leagues, Junior A and Junior B. Those are non-professional. So they're part of the Canadian Junior Hockey League. And that was like Cale Makar did that because he wanted to protect his NCAA eligibility. Now, in the US, there's minor hockey, just like in Canada, starting with sevens. Then, depending on where you are in the US, you might take the route for high school or you might do AAA.
Yes.
Because we do have Massachusetts, Minnesota, Wisconsin, a lot of great high school programs that can develop players. So that might be a place that you're doing it. There's also then the NTDP, that's the National Team Development Program. So that's where Austin Matthews came up.
Okay.
And their focus is on international competition. So that's when you're seeing these kids like winning World Juniors. Well, they're coming from other teams, but it's that development team that's going out there playing a lot of those games. Then there is the USHL. So this is more similar to what you're seeing for the major juniors. They maintain their amateur status. Their focus is to prep kids for the NCAA and the NHL. And that's ages 16 to 20 that you're playing USHL.
Yeah.
So really, these are all the places that everyone's developing up through. And then we meet them this past week in development camp.
Fascinating. I appreciate this because I think probably like a lot of our listeners, we've heard of these different levels and leagues. So it's just fascinating to understand all the multiple layers of that. But
So Mary Beth,
yeah.
these player development camps are happening across the league.
Yep.
And are they happening simultaneously to each other?
More or less, but there's not a requirement that they are. I think that this is my personal theory, but nobody has actually confirmed this. I think that most of the teams have it right after the draft, so everybody can then take time off.
Yeah.
It's summer.
The league is jamming all of these key events in very close to each other.
Mhm.
We have the draft, we have the development camp, and then it coincides with free agency, where some have said that the NHL should maybe take a page out of the NFL playbook, where the NFL is always giving you a reason to talk about them no matter what time of the year it is. So
I
now
think
we're
there's
going to go from all
for
of this happening to now having this pretty big
2 months.
gap with not a lot that's going to go on because everyone's exhausted, right? And they're taking time off. I'm not sure that that's great for NHL business.
For the people who work in hockey, whether it's for the teams or for those of us who cover it, they need a break. So I think that there's something with that. But part of the reason it's all jammed is because the season started going so long.
Yeah.
They're like, we have to finish. We have to move to the next piece of it. So I'm not sure what the answer is exactly.
So, Mary Beth, let's get back down to business.
I want to know from you, Mary Beth, player or players in particular that stood out to you as, is it plausible to think that perhaps we might see them at a professional level, either Providence Bruins, the Boston Bruins? Did anyone seem like a diamond in the rough to you?
Will Zellers. Every time he was on the ice, my eyes were drawn to him. I enjoyed watching him so much. He was USHL Forward of the Year, and this year he's heading to North Dakota. Totally
So he's
love
off the table. Because as a reminder to our listeners, if you're committed NCAA, you quite literally are not allowed to come to rookie camp.
Also really excited about Will Moore. Now he's going to be at BC, and he was the one who came late because he was the one who barely made it to camp. He was traveling
With
Higgins.
With Higgins, yes, that's right.
And the two of them were given the pass for the first day. They're like, no, we're getting on the ice.
Yeah.
So he was on the national development team last year. He's heading to BC this year. Plays with so much intensity. He really is super intense, a huge competitor, really solid skills. Like he's a great player. He did seem really coachable though. Like you'd watch him do something, a coach would talk to him and you'd see a change. So really like that. What I'm hoping for him is that he finds some fun because I don't know that he had any fun this week.
Oh, gee.
Now again, I'm not fun. I think he was just so intense and
so focused. Yeah.
But I'm like, have some fun, friend. It's a game.
Well, that comes with age and experience. When you're the young person in the office, you feel like you got to put in all the extra hours and do all that. But by the time, you're 35, 40 years old, you're like, I need to try that hard.
Yeah. And that's where I'm sort of hoping he'll have a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
Now another one who really struck out for me was Blenar. He was the one that nobody could find information on.
Right.
Richards. Now it's Blenar, and I may or may not be saying it correctly. Turns out he was born in Vail, so of course I love that since I teach there.
Wait, is this that mystery Czech player?
Mystery, yeah. So,
okay, so can you clarify the story? Because I am super confused. What is the deal?
So he was actually born here in the States. He was born in Vail. His dad had been a ski instructor in Aspen and something. So they moved when he was young overseas. So he has been over there. He was that's how the connection all happened here. But he's been playing for what's essentially a major juniors in Sweden for their U20 professional team.
Okay.
So that's why people, and his last name had been Richards. He was not allowed to change it until he was 18. So he went back to I think a more traditional family name. I think maybe this part I wasn't totally clear on, but I believe his family might have changed the name when they came to the States. That's
Oh,
just something more traditional in the family, or it may have been his mother's family name.
got it. And so
Love,
he played
love
for the league that, like, Pasta played in, right? And so
Yeah, well,
he's
he's
the
placed for the U20 Swedish. He was to me the unexpected surprise. Didn't
Oh,
know
good.
he has a great shot, smooth skating, really good puck handling, really quick, just a great player. Obviously, I'm saying all these wonderful things about these guys. They're all still developing, so they're not NHL
Yeah.
skating. He's not NHL puck handling yet, but these are players that I'm really seeing some amazing stuff from.
Mhm, mhm.
So I'm loving these. I know a lot of people are really interested in Dean Letourneau.
I was gonna ask about him. He
Well,
had
Yeah.
there's been
he
so much spoken about
yeah,
him during his tenure at BC and his lack of development there, which I
Well,
don't think
so
is
there's
all his issue.
bad luck.
a couple things that have come up about him as of late.
Mhm.
One of the things was it turns out he broke his hand,
Yeah.
and had surgery around Christmas.
Ugh.
So that kind of screwed up his season a little bit there.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing was, so he was our number one draft pick last year in
Yes.
2024. You
Mhm.
might remember last year when I was talking about camp, I'm like, he didn't really stand out for me at camp except for his size.
Yeah.
Uh, Big freaking guy.
He
But
is
it turns out we have a ton of them now. There was a lot of, he did not
real.
stand out size wise. We have a lot of really big guys.
Alright.
Yeah, it was really interesting. But I will tell you this year, I did see more physicality from him. So I
Mhm.
liked that. One of the things, a lot of people were talking about his skating. And so I kind of wanted to go in with fresh eyes and not listen to what other people had said.
Yeah.
He's not a very strong skater.
Yeah.
He may have left the ECHL a little too quickly and come up to NCAA before he was quite ready. The
Mhm.
reason that happened was somebody left BC and a space opened up for him. So he came up,
Ah,
but he was supposed to have another year in our
got it.
equivalent of major juniors.
Yeah.
And so he may have come up a little too soon. And
Well, he came to a team
Yeah.
that was like stacked and
Yeah,
ranked,
first of all.
number one. And you talk about a big fish that now he's a little fish in this
Right.
ginormous pond. So,
Yeah.
maybe the organization was not
Yeah.
as savvy as they should have been with the development of this
Yeah.
player. But
yeah,
the fact that you
especially
say he's not an impressive skater.
he's gotten better. There's definitely some improvement,
Yeah.
but I did go in and really, because of what I was hearing, I thought, let me take a closer look. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and again, I like everybody and I'm always giving the benefit of the doubt. I'm like,
You
no,
do. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah, yeah.
We love that about you, Mary Beth.
No, I
Love
hate
how
that,
you
which is
are.
why I'm like standing up and taking notice with the
Yeah.
critique of
Yeah.
the skating ability, which is
Yeah.
a little bit troublesome.
But, it's not just about your skating development, your
Mhm.
hockey IQ development. It's also your human brain development to be able to manage and handle and be in the pressure pot that is AHL, NHL. So I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful he has a better season at BC this year.
But
Yeah.
again, just remember they are also in school. When you're looking at
Yeah.
kids who are juniors, their job is hockey.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Loke Johansson. He was playing with major juniors in the QMJHL, but he signed his ELC November of 2024.
Yes.
So for an ELC, depending on how old you are when you sign it, it can be a 2-year contract or it could be 3 years. Connor Bedard, because he was only 18 when he signed his, was a 3-year.
Oh,
So it
fair.
basically just burned a year.
yes.
Because he signed his ELC, we will likely see him this year in either Providence or Maine. Saw some really good things from him. He had a really solid camp. He was a rookie camp last year, and we should see him at rookie camp this year
Yeah.
because he's not NCAA. Particularly compared to last year, I'm seeing some good things from him. He seems to have improved his skills, but he's
Good.
also filled out, and he seems to have more control over his body. One of the themes for me this week is all of these young men who have grown very quickly.
Right.
They're all arms and
Lumpy.
legs, and they
Yeah.
don't know what to do with
can't.
them.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
all the more reason, again, I am such a huge proponent of NCAA pathway being the fact that you get to grow into your body. These
I'm
guys
telling
are
you.
they don't stop growing till they're like in their early 20s. They're still growing.
So that brings me actually to Christian Kostadinsky.
Ooh,
We drafted him in 2023. He's
okay.
been playing with the USHL, but he's heading to BC in the fall. He was at camp last year, and I don't really remember much about him. but he is massive.
Really?
He's like 6'5" or bigger and about 220.
What's his position?
So he is actually defense,
All right.
but he seems to be growing into himself a little bit. But he is one who he's still, I just felt like he was still figuring out how to use his body and how to control himself. There was times I just felt it was super awkward with the way he was moving. And again, I think it's him growing into himself. I think he needs to fill out a little because, again, these guys are all arms and all legs. I didn't know much about him coming in, even though he's been around.
Yeah.
But speaking of not strong skaters, apparently like 2-3 years ago, he could not skate.
What?
Word on the street is he was.
Wait. Couldn't skate per that particular level, or like was really a genuinely terrible skater?
I believe that he was generally a terrible skater from what
Oh my God.
all what people are telling me, but I have no reason to doubt my sources.
Holy moly.
Wow. So that's
so-
super impressive then. You
Well,
got to be
that's
impressed by
the thing,
that.
'cause I'm looking at him and I'm going, huh. But he really is a total physical player and doesn't seem to have any quit from what I saw over the 4 days.
So
Yeah.
a question just popped into my head, and maybe it's a crazy question, but these players are all invited in. The camp is for 4 days. Does every player stay the entirety of the duration, or are there any instances that you've encountered where it's day 1, day 2, and obviously there have got to be assessors on the ice who say, you know what, this might not have been a good idea to invite have this individual here.
I haven't seen any evidence of that, and I haven't heard anything like that happening.
We know that our pipeline has been absolutely terrible, or as you said, Maria, abysmal. How do you feel about the future for Boston? And if you could make a guess, soon could we start to see some of those positive things that you saw at this dev camp? Let's be honest, 2 years, 3 years. What's your take?
I'm hoping that most of these players finish out their development at the NCAA or juniors level as long as they can. I don't think they're have anything to gain by rushing and jumping into the AHL and the NHL. I just don't. Based on that, I am guessing the next 3 to 4 years.
Listeners, if you're in the Boston area or near any of these colleges that these players are at, go to the games frequently. They are very inexpensive, and to watch either Hockey East, or if you like to go to Harvard and see some of them, that's ECAC, but they're all really affordable to go see those games. Definitely go check these guys out.
Good
Let us
environment
know.
for families too.
Yeah, great atmosphere. Go check them out. Tell us what you think during the season. We don't want to forget about some of these players because now we are super invested in paying attention. Find us all on our socials. And thank you again, Maria. Maribeth. I'm actually excited about these young guys. But as always, thanks for listening, and go Bees.
Go Bees.